Hello, hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ragland, and I'm so happy that you have joined us all today. I have a very special guest with us today, and her name is Miss Cherelle Lenise. Now, I've been acting silly with her name, just having a little fun, but this is Miss Cherelle Lenise. And I am so honored and happy to have this fabulous, wonderful lady with us today to share her story with us all. Miss Cherelle Lenise have gone through a lot of things in her life. But what she wants you to know, her message for you today is it doesn't matter what you've gone through or going through. You can get through it all. And don't ever be ashamed of what you're going through or what you have gone through. So let's welcome Miss Cherelle Lenise. Hi, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Absolutely wonderful. I'm so happy and honored to have you on our podcast today. I really do
Oh,
appreciate you being here. It's an honor.
thank you. It's
You're
an honor
so
to be here as well. And you look beautiful.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that after a long 8 hours of work and some hours counting.
Yes, yes.
So I'm just so happy. How are you today? How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Besides being tired, I feel energized thanks to you. I feel very optimistic and I'm looking forward to answering these questions for this interview and getting into the nitty-gritty of my page turner of a book. He chose me.
That's right. All right, so let's get started. What was your childhood like? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I am from Baltimore, Maryland, but we call it over here Bodymore or More. But Baltimore, Maryland, I was raised by my mom. She was a single mother. Unfortunately, my dad died at the age of 19 or 20, and I was 1 years old when he passed away. So I didn't have much memory of my father, which kind of left a big hole in my heart, but I was thankful enough that I actually had my mom. And but I still craved a father. It's nothing like having both parents in the household. That way you can get learning experiences from your mom, you can get nurturing, and you can feel that that source of protection from your father. But I didn't grow up with that father figure.
Okay, so your father was 19 when he passed away, correct? You said?
Yes, 19 or 20. Yep.
Yes, 19 or 20 that you can remember, and you were 1 years old.
Yes, yes. He died actually 11 days after my first birthday. That's how young he was.
After your after you said you turned 11?
No, he died after my first birthday. He died
Yeah,
11 days after my first birthday.
that's right.
Yes.
Now, you're just a little girl, so you don't really have the memories of really meeting him. Okay.
No.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Okay. So mom, it was just you and mom.
Yes, it was just me and my mother, and she was a very, oh gosh, what can I say about my mom? My mom was a very vivacious woman. She was like, she was so friendly. Everybody loved my mom. She was very fashionable. She was very high spirited. She knew how to bring people together and keep them together. So that was one of the traits, if not many, that I loved about her. She was very loved by a lot of people.
Okay, so how old were you when you and mom had your sister? When your
I,
sister came, how was
okay. I was about, I'll say, she's 2 years younger than me. So I could say I was about, mm, yeah, I could say she was about, you could say I was 5, she was about 3. I
okay?
mean, I can't pinpoint exactly how old I was, but she's 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So dad, he passed away. You were a
Yes.
little girl. Mom and dad were together. They were together for a while, correct?
Yes, they were sweethearts. They were very sweet on each other. They were like what you call it?
Like,
Uh that first love type of thing, that teenage love, stuff that oldies but goodies sing about. That's what they had.
right. So you grew up feeling the love of your father still present, even though he wasn't present because of the stories that your mother shared about.
Well, well, the thing about it is that my mom, she didn't share much about my father. And I think as I'm older now, I think I understand why. It's because I looked a lot like my father when I was much younger. So I think by him passing away the way that he did and the way that how they were just so glued to each other, I think she had a hard time talking to me about my father and what he was like because I think she was still hurt that he was gone. So me, I kind of took that personal without understanding and like, why she's not talking to me about my father. I have all these questions I need to know, if my dad loved me, I need to know how his temper was around me. I need to know if I was the apple of his eye, everything. Not really understanding that maybe she was still grieving while I was still trying to find out who my dad was. And I didn't really realize that until I got older.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're an author.
Yes, I am.
Okay, this is what I want the audience to know, and I am so infatuated with her book. I am. Now, your book is a true story.
Yes, it is all true. Yes, it
Okay.
is.
So the way that I took it and I'm understanding the book and the way that you perceive that you're telling me is a little different.
Yes.
And you can get into that later.
Yes.
Okay. Now, tell the audience what happened to your father. Share with us that background because we're leading up to so they can understand your whole life story and what
Okay.
you've been through.
My dad, my dad was very strong. He was a very strong young man and everything. Everybody loved him. He was the kind of man where he never ran from a fight, but if someone came up to him with a stick, he would run. I don't know why. But he was a jokester. He was the life of the party, and he really loved his family. And more importantly, he was close to his mother, my grandmother. They were very close, and from what I understand, from what the family has told me, that one day he came home to his mom and he found her lying on the floor and she was dead. And that apparently haunted him and it really was difficult for him. He had changed right after that because my grandmother was my dad's best friend. So he took that pretty hard. And then not to mention he wasn't, my father, he had a lot of kidney problems. So when his mother had passed away, he kind of forsaken his health. It wasn't a priority to him anymore. So what happened was after I was born and everything, about a year, he him and my mother were actually together on a particular day, and he had went downstairs to get something to eat, and all of a sudden he just passed out. He fell. And my mom came downstairs rushing to him and trying to give him aid and everything like that. But I think apparently he had about, from what I understand, the family has told me he had about 5 heart attacks for him to be so young. And he was dying on the floor, and the ambulance was on their way and my mom was very distraught. And from what I understand, they had to break his rib cage in order to give him oxygen. And he died on the floor right in front of my mother. And just to think about the family history, he found his mother dead on the floor. And then my mama found him and she was there when when he died. So think about trauma after trauma and losing someone very close that you love and not really having any answers as to why.
So how did that affect you as a child growing up? What happened with your mother? How was she? How was she towards you? How were you towards her? What ended up happening there?
My mother, initially, she was very protective of me, which she always was. She was very caring towards me. However, things had changed when I had got about 7, when I was being sexually molested by an older family member, someone that I had trusted who was about 2 years older than me. And I started displaying some things and some evidence that showed that I was being touched and showing signs that I basically had been around doing something that I hadn't been no business doing. And my mom was very concerned about that. And she didn't really understand why I was doing it. She didn't understand that I was being taught that and that something had happened to me. And it's like, how do you come to your mother and say that I'm being touched? You know, how does a child come to an adult and say that when they don't even know or fathom like what they're saying? Because think about how a child has to process that, and I really couldn't put it into words as to what was happening to me. So all the evidence was there. I masturbated um a lot frequently, to the point where I would do it while I was asleep and I didn't realize that. And she would get very upset with me about that. She would discipline me, I would be in the middle of the act, dead asleep and everything, and I would just feel a sting on my hand or something like that that would kind of wake me up out of it, like snap me out of it. And I didn't even realize subconsciously I was doing that. And she didn't ask the questions like, has somebody touched you or anything. She just asked like, what's wrong with you? Why do you keep doing that? And me personally, I already felt like something was wrong with me because, for one, my father was gone. I didn't have nobody to protect me. Number three, I had somebody that I trusted violate my trust. And now my mom is asking me what's wrong with me. And I'm just like, a lot is wrong with me. Don't you see? Like, and I was very angry with her about that. And I was in my feelings, girl. I was really in my feelings. And I
Yeah.
remember she asked me one night when she caught me, and she just said, and normally most of the time she disciplines me, but this particular night she didn't. And she kind of looked fed up, like I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what to do. And she said, Cherelle, do you love me? And instantly out of anger, I said, no, I hate you and I wish you would die, And as soon as I said that, thunder like happened and lightning. And I felt like that particular night was the night that changed my life forever. And from that point on, me and my mom had a very estranged relationship emotionally. She always took care of me. She always made me look real nice. I was always well fed. I was well taken care of physically and as far as taking care of me, as far as me making sure that I had 3 meals a day and snacks. But emotionally, we were very estranged. And that left me, kind of like by the wayside emotionally. And that's when I really started to have a desire to write out my feelings, because I felt like if I write out my feelings, nobody can tell me how I feel is right or wrong. If I write out how I feel, I can have clarity to what it is that I'm feeling. And number three, it'll be all clear about like I deserve to be loved, because I really felt like as a child that I was a bad child, that um I just felt like something was wrong with me. And I felt like that's why all the things were happening to me. So I felt like I had to try extra hard to be loved. And that comes with people pleasing.
And I think, and you, and a lot of kids go through that. You
Mhm.
were young when you lost your father, but you
Yes.
knew that something was missing there. Because, of course,
Oh
you
yeah.
see other girls with their fathers' families. You just see it. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
school, getting dropped off or something. You know that
Mm-hmm.
there's something that, yeah, where's my dad? Like, you don't understand
Hmm.
death, right?
Yep.
And so
Mm-hmm.
you have your mom, and she had a baby. So that left you
Yeah.
feeling like, well, all the attention's going to her now, right?
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
that, you're doing good with this with their family member. That's a male. He's older than you. You trust
Hmm.
him. You're looking at him like, this is my guy. I feel really safe with you. I love you.
Hmm.
I can open up to you. You know me. I love you. And then he violated. He violated that trust with you. He took something away
Yes.
from you that you were like,
Yes.
how, what? And it changed you forever. That's something that you're like, what? How what just happened to me? And then on top of that, he knew what he was doing. He was being sick. So
Yes.
you picked up all these
Yes.
different behaviors from him that he's teaching you. Your mother's seeing
Yep.
things with you, but she never asked the question, did someone touch you?
Yeah.
Just because you know what, a lot
Yeah.
of times, Cheryl, people aren't ready for the answer. I think that's why she never asked. Usually, at that
Me
time,
too.
you know, but this is an
Mhm.
educational podcast, so this is why we're talking about this because this is real. This is what goes on.
Yes.
So that's how we get
Yes.
by talking about stuff like this. So if you're
Yes.
experiencing or seeing this, ask somebody touch you. But before you get there, let your son or child know, daughter know, hey, don't ever let no one touch you here. If someone do, you tell right away. So
That's
everybody,
right.
we can have these conversations in our homes, right?
Yes.
Children,
That's right. That's
correct.
right.
So after that, your very favorite place where you love to go to on Fridays. You cannot wait to get out of school to go over and visit who? Who was that person?
My nana, my grandma Pearl, I call her in the book. Oh gosh, she wondered why I called her that. I call her my precious pearl because she is a pearl. She's a pearl, and pearls are precious. And she's so precious, but in real life, her real name is Nana. That's what we call her.
You
I
can call her
couldn't wait
Pearl.
to
I
get over.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I couldn't wait to get over my grandmother's house every weekend because my grandmother, she's an old school grandmother and she's a lady. Okay. She's the kind of lady where she works a regular job like everybody else. And she I remember she would cook us like really like home cooked meals and stuff. Not saying that my mom didn't, but she used to cook us like T-bone steaks with uh tomatoes with mayonnaise and salt and pepper and everything. And I used to call it a gourmet meal because I had never seen
you would think
anything
it's
like
so pretty.
yeah, yeah. I used to call it a gourmet meal. So anytime that I would come over my grandma's house, I would expect like either fried fish for dinner or a big breakfast, and a good bath and everything, and just to rip and run up and down the street in the neighborhood that I like to call the village, where everybody know each other, everybody borrows things from people and they get it back, and it's like a big community. And I really, really miss that atmosphere because, like, as I look at the world today, we don't have too many villages. We don't. And it that was a huge part of my upbringing because everybody worked together. If one child was out of line, everybody on that block would handle that child. And it helped us to be strong in the community. And I don't see villages today. I don't. I don't.
Right. Well, you didn't have that at home with your mother. You didn't have that feeling with your mother.
No,
You had that
no.
over at Miss Grandma Pearl's house, not a Pearl.
Yeah, I had it at Grandma Pearl's house. Yes, Grandma Pearl knew how to deliver.
In a big
She paid
home.
attention. Yes, she paid attention to me. She knew that this baby's she not being treated right. She's kind of being ignored, but I'm a show her some extra care. I'm gonna take up under my wing, not doing the favoritism thing, but just kindly embracing me and making me feel confident and loving me. And to this day, that's where my confidence comes from my grandmother. She's instilled so many morals in me, and naturally, I always said that I wanted to be just like her. And I am a splitting image of my grandmother as far as in my personality, my looks, everything. So I'm really grateful for everything she's taught me.
She's the one who introduced you, gave you your first book to write. in your journal?
My grandmother, she would give me journals all the time because she started seeing like this baby likes to write, so and basically at least like every 2 weeks on payday, she would basically give me journals. And I would just fill them up and just write, write, write. And then that's when I realized that writing was like one of the best parts of my life. It was like taking a breath of fresh air after being in a dead sleep for a long time. I felt like I had purpose. I felt like I had something to say. Nobody was going to correct me on it. And whatever I had to write, it made sense. It's going to make sense. So I was very grateful. And then once my grandmother started seeing how quick I would fill out the journals, she will buy me more and more. Until this day, she still does it. She still does it.
Wow, she's still with us. That's a blessing.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Now you have to get the book in order to get the rest of the story. So we're gonna move right along.
Okay.
Okay, now because there's a lot to talk about. It's good stuff. This is real life, true loving and going through the trials and tribulations, the ugly, the bad, and the good, the glory. Heaven. It's heaven and hell all mixed in one.
Yes.
It makes you laugh, it makes you smile,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes you cry,
Yep.
you know. So let's get back to good old
And it makes you cuss too.
yeah. Let's get back to good old mama. So
Yes.
you and baby sister, you all end up moving in with Grandma Pearl.
Yes, we did. We lived in a big house, a big blue house, and we all lived together.
How old were you at this time?
And we were about, I'll say I was about maybe 11 or 12, and my sister had been like maybe 10.
By
So
this
yeah,
time,
that was
you and
around
your
that
mother,
time. We were pretty young.
right. But
Mhm.
by this time, you and your mother kind of had a little bit, you got a little close to her by this time. You were you were you at this time having you opened up to her a little bit at this time or no? Were you still feeling a little distant from her?
I was still feeling a little distant from her emotionally when we initially moved in. However, though, things changed when she began to get a little ill, a lot more sicker. My mom, she was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 22, I believe. And around this time when we had moved into the big house with my grandmother, she was about 28, 29. So she had been dealing with lupus for a while. Um, and one particular day, it got real bad to the point where her joints were hurt. And if for those who don't know what lupus is, it attacks your immune system. And she complained a lot about her joints hurting and her body aching and everything. She was losing her hair. She It got to the point where she wasn't able to bathe herself anymore. And my mom was a very self-efficient woman. She took pride in her appearance and how to care for herself as well as her daughters. So you can imagine when that actually is deteriorating and everything, you can imagine the emotional strain on her. And she would feel very nauseous and everything. So one particular morning, she was feeling a bit ill, and then I saw her. I went to go check up on her, and then I saw her vomiting in a green bucket, and she was throwing up blood. So I was very concerned, and my grandmother, my grandfather were already gone out the house. And I had rushed and called my godmother, and she had lived down the street, and she had came and she told us to get ready for school and everything. And I remember my mom was crying. She was really crying because she was in so much pain. And I remember that when I heard her cry, something in me softened up because you understand, I was very angry with my mother for not asking the questions that I felt like she should have answered. But also at the same time, I softened up because I'm like, she's hurting right now. I can't make this about me. And mind you, I'm not even I'm a child thinking this way. And I was willing to put all of my emotions aside just to help her. So when the ambulance came and everything, they came and wheeled her out. And that was the last time I saw my mother alive.
Yeah. That right there was deep. Moving on, we have this is a story. I usually don't do part two. I usually do part two if it's so interesting because there's points that I want to hit on. I don't want to rush this with you. This is such a story
Mhm.
that really touched my heart. Your story did. And we have literally, ladies and gentlemen, 9 more minutes left, and I know that you want to hear the rest. So I want to take my time with this story with you. We will have 8 minutes left, okay, Miss Cherelle, but we could hop back on and do the rest of it, or we can just end it in
Okay.
8 minutes. It's whatever you want to do because I want to get points from you. I want you to share a lot more information. We could wrap it up,
Okay.
or we can do a part two. We can, once this is ended, we can hop
Let's
back
do a
on.
part two.
Okay. So, did
Okay.
you have a little time left? You have a little time for us today where we can
Yes, I do.
finish and then do another. We'll come back on for you, ladies and gentlemen, because I want you to have understanding and clarity and to know what life was like after that for her, what she went through as an older adult, because she's now 11 when she loses her mother. The feeling that I feel from this is no one could ever replace mom or dad. No one. No matter if you feel as a child, you're growing up and the feelings that you had and the things you did. Mom didn't do anything to you. That was the whole part, that mom never did anything to you. She took good care of you. She was loving. She didn't let
Yes.
anyone around her that she from outside that hurt you or did something to you. The
That's
question
right.
just wasn't asked. The it was like, you know, the emotional, she was going through some stuff. She didn't know
Yes.
how to come out and ask you because she was just, it was, she didn't know. That was, just imagine you walking in and your daughter's doing that, or your son, and you're young, 7 years old. That's what. So you try to whip
Yes.
the child out of that, but that made you angry. It made you angry.
Yes. Yeah.
And certain
It,
things release people. Food, like we have food addictions, we have people that do drugs, we have people that have gambling, we have people that have sex addictions with different things, right?
yes.
Masturbation. Okay. So these things people do to try to release, but we know that the
Mhm.
only thing that
Yes.
takes us where we want to go is when we have control over the things that we know is right and is going to take us where we need to go. But unfortunately, things happen. A monster that was in the family hit his demons and took it out on a little girl at the time, which this is what we're facing today in this world in families. And it's going on right now as we speak. So we bring it to you. I bring it to you because the simple fact is that this is real life stuff. So we're going to give you the information. So how, whatever it is, her message is, Ms. Cherelle's message is, don't ever be ashamed of what you've been through or what you are going through right now at this moment, at this very moment, right now. If you can hear our voice,
That's right.
whatever you're going through right now, what you've gone through, don't be ashamed of it, because we've all been through something
Mm-mm.
and we have a story. So she's here to share with you. She went through it, but she's here because she had to go through that so she can reach back and help you so you can find your way through it. Okay. So I want to, so after we have 5 more minutes, we're going to cut this. We'll cut this, ladies and gentlemen, but we'll come right back on for part two. Now, at 11 years old, when your mom passed, what happened? How did you do that?
Yeah, she passed away when I was 13.
13.
Um, yes.
But you
And
were
how
still
I
when you were
felt,
11, right? When,
right,
when
right,
that's when she started really
right.
okay.
Yeah, yes.
Because that's when you moved in with grandma.
So when she passed away,
Yes.
right,
Okay.
right. I moved in with grandma and we were in the house for about 2 years before my mom had got sick. So yeah. Um, when my mom passed away, I was very angry. I was very pissed because I was just thinking to myself, like, not again, not again. What what the hell? I was really upset because I'm like, what did I do to have not one parent that's gone, but another? And I felt like somebody was trying to punk me. I felt like somebody just was like, we just gonna go ham on Cherelle. And I really felt robbed of the opportunity to rekindle our relationship or to look forward to a relationship together in the future. And I felt like I was robbed of that. I really felt like I'm 13 years old. My identity is in my mother. I look just like my mother, and when I look at her, she's a pillar of strength. So when that pillar of strength is gone, and she's gone, and it's like I'm left with the question, major, and to know why did I have to go through this? Like, why? It's not fair. It's not fair.
When that happened, because that those are normal feelings that a child feels at that
Mhm.
age at 13. Because you're thinking, okay, we were there. We ended up, me and mom, we didn't get along, but I could see my future with my mom. I could see that one day we'll rekindle this relationship and we'll be happy together and smiling
That's
and
it.
see
That's it.
doing things
Yes.
together, going to the movies together, graduation, parties, birthdays. You see it. Like I know that me and mom we're gonna do good.
Hmm.
Good. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. And especially when you move in with Grandma Pearl, I know you felt real good. It was loving.
Yeah.
You had a big home. The love was already there. So it's a lot of love.
Yes.
Okay, mom's gonna come here. We're gonna get her better. She's gonna get better. She's gonna be okay. And that happened. Now
Yes.
that's at 13.
Unfortunately.
It's at 13.
Yes.
What was like life after that? I know you were mad, but what happened? Now we're gonna have to stop it because we're gonna transition. We're gonna stop this, and then we're gonna go over and meet on another meet. But we're gonna keep talking until it cuts. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right, ladies
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
gentlemen, just
That's
hang
fine.
in here
So you
with
want to
us.
stop right now?
Yeah. So tell you you
Yes.
start speaking about that, and then when it cut, we're gonna pick off where we left off at.
Yes, I was very angry and I was a very promiscuous teenager. I was very promiscuous. Let your imagination run there. I was very promiscuous and angry.
Yes.
Hmm. Yes.
And that's what happens. How were you were 13 at that time still, right? Or were you 14 now at this
Was
time?
still 13. I was still 13. I was still 13.
In the seventh
Yes,
grade? In middle school?
I was 13. And yeah, when she passed away, I was in the eighth grade. When I went to high school, I was still 13. So, yep.
That's right. And that's where it all starts, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to pick it right back up and we'll find out how it all started there. Because this is what's